I feel like a lot of times we let our pride get in the way of what we wish to experience. I think we let our pride get in the way of our adaptability. I think we let our pride get in the way of growth. And I think a lot of us want to grow. I think that's a pivotal point of anybody's experience is the idea that they can get better and moving towards that and wanting to get to that and not necessarily needing to get to it, but at least wanting it for ourselves and wanting it for our experience. And I think sometimes we allow our previous agreements, we allow our previous thoughts, notions, and I guess convictions to get into our way, as if something instantiated in the past is not subject to change, as if we can't change our mind about something, as if we can't start over, as if we can't give ourselves another opportunity. And I think sometimes that pride is what gets in the way of our development because we think that we can keep going at the same thing in the same exact way with the same exact perspective and view and experience it in a different way when we cannot. We have to recognize that our perspective and our experiences are not separate. The way we view something is the way we experience something. And if we constantly view it in the same way and constantly don't change our perspective and don't give ourselves an opportunity to see something new, then all we're going to experience is the old. All we're going to experience is going to be reminiscent of a past that we're trying to escape from, or at least that we should escape from, or at least that something is compelling us to move forward from. And I think that something isn't necessarily a key push telling you, don't forget about the past and forget about everything back then, but to say, you're here to experience the moment. We're here to experience the present. And if we're constantly prideful about things that we need to alter, things that we need to change, and especially the signs that we ignore that sort of show us where we need to change, then we're constantly going to be left behind by ourselves, by the time around us. And we're going to feel like life is leaving us behind because we're not choosing to live it and we're not moving with it. To say be still yet allow movement is not to say don't develop and don't change. It's to say be consistent with how you treat yourself. Be consistent with the perspective that you choose to have. And that doesn't mean your perspective can't change. That just means you have to accumulate your perspective to actually benefit you. And I think when we allow ourselves to sort of serve that benefit toward ourselves, I don't know, I think we learn to appreciate a lot more of everything. Other people, other events, other circumstances, like even our mistakes at times, because they show us what we need to do in the future. And it's not necessarily something to always get on ourselves negatively about. I'm recognizing that negativity is really just a response to any situation. It's not inherent to any situation, it's inherent to the person perceiving it. And that's why I think it's important to have a perspective that allows you to be there. I think sometimes when we encounter certain negativities about ourselves, we sort of hide behind the delusion of what we're currently doing. Oh no, this will work out. Da, 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 da. This will work out if I keep doing the same thing, having the same perspective. I just wanted to change. I just wanted to change. And we're constantly instantiating that change is something that's separate from us. We're instantiating that whatever future self that we're trying to have is not currently here. And I think the biggest example of this for me was my skin, and I didn't necessarily take care of it the way I wanted, or any of my self-care. Like I was doing the same stuff over and over again and expecting a different result, just hoping that things would balance themselves out on their own, just hoping that this would happen just because it did. And I don't think things work like that, especially with certain things like skincare. And that's why I'm thankful that Teach Hanley is sponsoring this video today. If you guys are unfamiliar with Teach Hanley, is they're an uncomplicated skincare brand for men. And they sent me over a few items that I'm going to showcase for you all today. So we have our AM and PM moisturizers. They sent me over a scrub and a wash. And I don't know, I feel like skincare is very important to me. I feel like any type of self-care is very important. I think when we don't give ourselves the chance to actually learn from our mistakes and learn from the things that sort of hinder us from where we want to go, we sort of lose track of everything. And since they're sponsoring this video, they're giving you guys an amazing deal. You guys can get 40% off your first level 1 box, which is link in the description. And if you sign up right now, there's going to be 20% off for life. And yeah, and they're also going to throw in either an exfoliating brush or a manicure set. I personally use both of them pretty frequently, but the exfoliating brush is my favorite, and it's valued at $20. So if you guys are interested, please check it out. And if you're interested in any type of self-care, then check yourself out, because it's important to, I think, drop our ego at times. I think it's very easy to get clouded in some delusion that you have to be exactly as you think you are, or things have to go exactly as you want them to in order for you to be happy. But things always go amiss. There's always things negative happening in the world, and it's about not taking negativity personally. I'm not saying that you can't acknowledge it. I'm not saying that things aren't worth fighting for. I'm not saying that things aren't worth putting attention into and changing. But you shouldn't change the way you feel based on some external thing that you're seeing, or at least the way you feel about yourself. I'll say we have to learn to appreciate ourselves regardless and love ourselves through change. Even when we notice something that we like, for example, if we see something bad happening and then we don't necessarily have the perspective to be like, oh yeah, I should feel bad about this. I should be empathetic. I should blah, blah, blah. I think that sometimes we punish ourselves for not having certain perspectives, for not having a certain mindset about certain things. And I think the only way to get to that mindset isn't from constantly harking on yourself, but embracing some type of love and some type of affection and intimacy with yourself that actually allows you to transform your perspective. I think it's much more easy to be led through a garden than led through a fire in a way. I think if we walk with ourselves and take our time to listen, to truly hear what it is we have to say, what it is we have to express, and what it is that we're holding on to, then we can actually see opportunities to let go of those certain things. But I think when we're just yanking ourselves along and not really paying attention to all of the things that lead to our actions, all of the things that lead to our attitudes and perspectives of the world, then we're just going to try to create a new perspective on top of one that we don't want. And it's like our foundation will be based in something that's unbefitting of ourselves, and we're constantly going to revert to that something because it's at our foundation. And when I say at our foundation, I really mean like it's part of our subconscious thought. It's part of what we repeated to ourselves when we agree to, and we become addicted to in a way. It's part of the part of ourselves that we think is inherent to us. And I recognize that most of those parts of ourselves that quote unquote inherent to us are just what we've convinced ourselves of, what we've given to ourselves, what we allowed ourselves to funnel into. And I think it's not necessarily like a choosing game, like I want this, I want this, I want this, in terms of your characteristics and personality traits. I think that who we are in the deepest, most innermost level chooses certain things, and there's certain opportunities for positivity within those things. I think if we learn to listen to ourselves and learn to love ourselves and be appreciative with ourselves, we're going to choose the things that are actually beneficial. I think we're going to actually move towards our best good because we're actually working towards our best good within our daily life, within our regular regimen. And I think we don't do that in terms of anything, especially with our mental health, especially with the care that we give to ourselves, because we're not dropping our guard enough to realize that we're not being attacked by anything but ourselves. It's almost like by having our guard up, we're inviting people to attack us. It's almost like we're projecting our weakness onto the world by connotating it as strong and connotating every negative experience as something that we're desperately trying to avoid. I think the only reason that we try to avoid negativity is because we think it rubs off on us, because we recognize it rubs on us, I'll say. Projection, I feel like, is always a two-way street. We always, or it seems like, we push our internal worlds out into the external and see it. And then when we see something negative in the external world, we bring it into our internal world and internalize it. It's always a cycle that we create, and we have to recognize that we're the ones creating it. We're the ones who interject that first thought of negativity. And when I say we, I don't necessarily mean you specifically. I mean just the way you've been conditioned, the way we've been brought up to think certain negative things ahead of actually seeing things for what they are. I think we always have some type of negative reaction to the things around us without actually seeing the true negativity about them. You know, some things are negative just because of the relationship that we place with them, and our constant establishment of a need for something, a constant establishment of like need for validation, need for attention, and need to find yourself in places where you aren't. I'm recognizing that the only place you find yourself is truly where you are. And I don't mean that to say that you can't explore to figure out new things about yourself. I don't mean that at all. I'm saying that when you're exploring these new things, you have to be present enough to recognize what they're doing for you, present enough to recognize the feelings that they inspire in calmness that they said will bring to your mind. And I think that type of peace is what allows you to sort of find yourself and sort of tune into what you actually want. When we have too much of a decision made, I feel like, about ourselves, when we sort of confine ourselves to a box and think that the journey is over, I think that's when we truly get lost. I think our discontentment with what we're doing and discontentment with where we're going is often representative of our discontentment with the present moment. Not necessarily saying that we don't actively like what's around us, but saying that we're not appreciating it and acknowledging it for what it is. Instead, we're letting it be a reference point to the future and degrading it because we think that's what we're supposed to do. Like, we're constantly supposed to be like, oh, I like my phone, but there's a new one out. So I a little bit don't like my phone as much. It's just like certain little things like that, constantly living our life in reference that allows everything to be the subject but us. I think if we want to be the subject, it's about adaptation. It's about your continued growth and continued allotment of perspective, your continued love for yourself, regardless of how things look at a time. And I guess once you look at yourself and once you sort of open the door to your own understanding, there's so much more on the other end. And I think there's so much more on the end before you open the door. I think there's a lot of false doors out here. A lot of things that seem like, oh, once I do this, once I get through this, once I do this, I'll understand it. Or I'll understand myself. Or I'll get to know myself. Or I'll be able to love myself. But a problem with these false doors is, problem with this idea that you're going to find some reason to love yourself. Or you're going to find some reason to validate yourself that's going to stick, is false. The false door is not that it doesn't open. The false door is that once you open it, there's another door. And there's constantly going to be other doors. And you have to recognize that you're on the end that you want to be on. You're already enough for where you are. You're already enough to love yourself where you are and give yourself appreciation where you are. And that's the type of adaptation that's important. Recognizing that sometimes we'll open doors. And it's important to not be offended by what's on the other side sometimes. Because oftentimes, what we're looking for is not for the specific material or the specific gain or achievement or notoriety or this, that, and the other. It's about the feeling that it inspires within us. And I think a lot of us have become dependent on the external world in order to provide us with feelings of gratitude for ourselves, or feelings of appreciation for who we are and what we're doing and where we're going. The false door is to say, appreciate where you are. Sometimes it's more beautiful outside than it is inside the door, wherever it leads. And sometimes it doesn't lead anywhere. It's just important to open the door with a sense of curiosity, with a sense of contentment, with a sense of appreciation. And sometimes you might find something good at the end of the other end of the door. But it's because you're present that you actually get to appreciate that something. Our constant expectation and need for something to be there is just going to be like, oh, yes, it's here. I knew it was here. Oh, yes, finally, I got this thing I've been waiting for. I deserve it. Next day you're at the door. Next day you're going to be at a different door. And I think this constant rat race, this constant loop is just a gratification loop that we constantly put ourselves in. Convincing ourselves that our value is in things that we do and things that we achieve rather than who we are, rather than the person achieving it. We don't give anything back to the self, but we're constantly giving things out to the world and giving things out to other people. And I don't mean that to say be selfish. I don't mean that to say not care about other people. I don't mean that to say don't appreciate other people. Give appreciation fervently and presently so you can feel the appreciation too. And when you're actually present and you feel gratitude for something and give that gratitude to something, they get to feel happy about that if they decide. But you get to feel grateful. You get to feel happy. You get to feel joy. So why not give yourself that opportunity when you're seeing anything? If I look outside right now and say it's beautiful, I'm grateful that I get to experience this day. It's not like the tree is the subject of what I'm doing. It's not like I'm doing it for the tree. I'm doing it for me. I'm doing it to experience gratitude. I'm doing it to embrace gratitude, to give myself a chance to actually experience life for what it is and experience myself through the life that I'm living. You are the experiences, to say the experience is what you give, not what's given to you. You can get a bunch of stuff. It's not going to mean anything unless you give some type of feeling, you give some type of attention, you give some type of attitude, or you give some type of perspective that shifts everything. The experience is what you give back to yourself. Not necessarily in terms of, oh, I love myself, but to say, hey, I love you. And that feeling of love, giving myself the experience of feeling love, giving myself the experience of feeling anything, and making sure I'm choosing to give myself certain positive things whenever I have the opportunity, even if it's negative. Oh, I handled that situation good. I handled that negative situation good. Pat myself on the back, cheer for myself. Do something that allows you to continue to be consistent or still and allow movement around you in a way. And if you guys made it this far in the video, thank you very much. I really do appreciate each and every one of you, and I hope you guys are taking care of yourself to the best extent. A lot more on the way. Going abroad soon. I'm gonna try to do a little abroad series. So let me know what y'all think about that. Let me know if you're interested. All in all, thank you. Keep being great. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. Make sure you're doing what you can with what you have, because that's all you can do.